Aaron, for months, we've been trying to bring a more professional air to our videos.
Years.
Years, and it's taken us an NHL broadcasting milestone to achieve it.
An NHL broadcasting legend, Jeff Rimmer, 2,000 games, Saturday Buffalo. Wow, what are your thoughts? You've heard, this is a big number for you. What are your thoughts in hitting this great number?
Obviously, I've been around for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm getting older, but I'm still pretty young.
Right.
Now, who is your, your broadcasting career spans 4 decades in the NHL alone,
right?
But your actual play-by-play work with the Washington Capitals, with the Florida Panthers, and obviously with the Blue Jackets since, what, 2004, 2005 season, somewhere in there?
I came to lockout.
Okay, but now, who was the guy that kind of handed you the reins in Washington? I think I've heard of this guy before.
Well, the great Larry King.
Larry King, like the CNN Larry King?
The CNN Larry King. He was doing neutral radio, and I was also doing baseball. The Orioles, I was doing pre and post on television and pre and post on radio. It was pretty hard back in my Baltimore, Washington days. Anyway, Larry and I became friends through baseball. He's a huge baseball fan. And by the way, he's a huge hockey fan as well. In fact, the early years of the Capitals, he was their honorary captain. Anyway, fast forward, I had an agreement when I moved to Washington, Baltimore, that not only would I do the Orioles, but I would do the Capitals moving forward, and I would be the television host for the Capitals. But unbeknownst to me, Larry called and said, I want to get you on the first intermission. We were playing, I remember this, it was yesterday, we were playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I went into the intermission studio, and all of a sudden, Larry turns to the camera, and after asking me a couple of questions about my career, he says, folks, I'm starting at CNN on Monday. Literally, he was starting the CNN job. Jeff Rimmer, who knows a lot more about hockey than I do, here, you are now the host, and I expect you to come back in the second intermission. Well, the people at Home Team Sports and the Washington Capitals were basically up in arms, because in addition to the fact that Larry basically handed me the job, they needed to work out a contract, and the contract was going to go into effect the next year, so I kind of had him over a barrel.
You could ask for anything.
Right. I had him over a barrel, but to be a good guy, be a nice guy, and to be employed there for more than 2 days, I accepted the offer.
You know, from the 2000 game, we've had this soundtrack here in the background.
That's
so
very nice of
as well.
I appreciate that.
What year was this, Rims?
This was my first year there, 77-84. This was 1984-85 hockey season.
Okay. And so CNN was pretty young, if not just starting.
Right, yeah. And Larry became a legend. In fact, to me, he still should be on. He is the best interviewer. Yeah. You guys are good interviewers, and you're a great reporter, and you're a good reporter. But I'm telling you, Larry King is the best. Is the best.
Sure.
Now, everyone has that time in their career where they think they're an athlete, and they love the sport.
I knew you were going to bring this up.
And then at some point, there's this realization, this moment where you're like, if I'm going to stay in this sport, I'm going to probably need a different avenue. I think that moment kind of comes to fruition with a certain president of hockey operations here, John Davidson.
Well, it's a legendary story.
Tell us the true story.
I'm telling you the true story. Whatever John Davidson says, and hey, listen, John does a great job in his capacity as president of hockey operations, but he tends to BS when it comes to talking about my hockey career. Anyway,
set the record
I
straight.
walked
Watches
in.
these, by the way.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I walked in first day of homeroom in the 10th grade. I'd moved from Toronto, where I was the ultimate Leaf fan. That's another story that we can discuss. But what happened was I walked in homeroom, and JD and I instantly became friends. We used to skip typing class, and it was an outdoor rink. And in those days, before global warming, you could skate on an outdoor rink. And we used to wave to the kids in typing class. Little did I know that I would be typing as time went on as a broadcaster. But anyway, John convinced me that I needed to go out and try out for the midget AAA Calgary Buffaloes. And I mean, this is an elite hockey team. He said, the ice time will do you well. I said, John, I don't have a chance of making this team. Well, lo and behold, he talked me into it. We go to Rosecon Arena in Southwest Calgary. I go get my bib, I register, and I'm in the 200s. My bib is in the 200s.
That's probably not a good sign.
No, that's not a good sign. So JD gets out on the ice, and we kind of got dressed side by side. I go out on the ice, and no sooner did I get on the ice, I got a tap on the shoulder, and the coach says, there are too many kids out there. Hey kid, House League starts on Wednesday.
First
so I didn't even make the full rink. he looked at the way I skated and he said, House League. So, fast forward to House League, Wednesday night, Kingsland, that's the neighborhood that John and I lived in, and I go out for House League, and practice is on, another tap on the shoulder, I'm on the snowbank. So, listen, I grew up in Toronto. I wanted to be involved in hockey. I wanted to be a player. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I watched every game that I possibly could. Television was a lot different then. Hockey Night in Canada came on at the end of the first period. No short 2 periods on Saturday nights. Anyway, I wanted to be a broadcaster, and fortunately, I sit here tonight. 2000th game in the National Hockey.
But it's more than that, Rance. It's more than the rims. It's more than just your 2,000 games. You've been in the NHL for 40 years, and I think one of the most interesting things when I've talked to you, I grew up, my first memories of the NHL were watching those great Canadian teams in the 1970s. 4 straight Stanley Cups. You covered those teams, correct?
Right. Okay. Quick story there. I moved to Los Angeles, married a beautiful girl from LA, overachieved, outkicked my coverage, as you two have as well. And I promised her after the Olympics, I did the Olympics on television, Nadia Comaneci in 1976, and we had moved to Edmonton. I took her from Los Angeles to Edmonton, where it was 40 below for 2 months. Couldn't understand why we couldn't go out for dinner with one of the hockey players and his wife, but it was just too cold. Literally, the exhaust from your car hung in the air. You couldn't see in front of your nose. Anyway, I promised her after the Olympics if I made contacts, we would move to LA. I got a TV weekend gig. I was doing weekend sports on KHJ Channel 9, but I couldn't get a full-time job. I wanted, and actually Jack Kent Cook, the owner of the Los Angeles Kings, listened to my tape. Jake Guilford, the then general manager, wanted to hire me to do radio. And Jack Kent Cook listened to the tape and he said, I'm sorry, he sounds too Canadian. Jack Kent Cook, mind you, is a Canadian. And we're trying to get people in Los Angeles to know that hockey is not a Canadian game. It's a North American game. So I didn't get that job. I sent out a couple of tapes. I accepted a job in Calgary to go back to the CBC, which is the Canadian network equivalent to CBC. And I worked for them previously in Edmonton. And accepted the job. That afternoon, Dick Irvin, the legendary Hockey Night in Canada broadcaster, called me, and I said, I'm sorry, I already accepted the job, and I'm going back to Calgary. He said, stay right there. I'll call you back in an hour. He called me back 2 hours later, and he said, we'll pay you $2,000 more, and you can work the Montreal Canadiens hockey broadcasts. Slam dunk. I called Calgary back, moved to Montreal in 1977, and I saw 4 straight Stanley Cups. 1 year they lost 8 games all year. Savard, Robinson, Lapointe, Guy Lafleur, Jacques Lemaire. I mean, I can just start naming names, and I mean, it was incredible. 4 straight Stanley Cups. Now, I didn't work for the team. I worked for the radio television station, so I didn't get Stanley Cup work.
You also did some Expo stuff.
I did the Expos for 10 years. I did the pre and the post there, and that's the infamous Pete Rose battle, he and I. But hey, there's lots of stories in the Naked City.
Oh, Naked Adventure.
I think one of the interesting things about your career is, as far as the actual play-by-play teams that you've covered, you know, the Capitals weren't quite an expansion team by the time you got there, but for the most part, they were a very young franchise. Florida, a young franchise. And again, you came in about 4 or 5 years here. What is the challenge from coming from a market like, again, a Montreal to coming into a market where you're trying to grow the game?
Well, as things turned out, in Washington, Brian Murray was then the coach, David Poyle the general manager. We made the playoffs every year. And the unfortunate thing there was that Brian Murray, in all his years, almost, I think, career-wise, until he got to Florida with the Panthers and John Van Beesbrook, never had a goaltender. If the Capitals had a goaltender, they would have, I'm telling you, they had a chance to win Stanley Cups because they had great teams. Gustafson, Christian, Dino Ciccarelli, I can just go down the list. They never had good goaltenders. Scott Stevens on the blue line. Kevin Hatcher on the blue line. Big physical player, could score, could shoot. Florida, we almost made the playoffs in that first season, the inaugural season. In fact, there's a side story to that. The first year of the Panthers, I was asked if I would do their games while I was still working for the Washington Capitals. I'm probably the first broadcaster, I don't know of any other, in the history of the National Hockey League that did 2 teams in one season. I did the Capitals schedule, and I did 31 of 33 Florida Panther games. Now, the interesting thing there was the Panthers almost made the playoffs, and I had both Washington and Florida asking me which games you're going to do. And I was a nervous wreck until the Panthers kind of fell out of favor.
So you were flying from Washington to Florida?
I was flying from Washington to Florida to St.
wherever
Louis.
the team was. Yeah.
Wherever the team was. In fact, a great story here again. I was doing a Washington Capitals game in St. Louis. There was a tremendous storm coming. I got the last flight out of St. Louis, but I could only get to Pittsburgh. Lo and behold, I get to Pittsburgh, I buy a paper. The Islanders had played the Penguins the night before. I looked, and there was no way that Pittsburgh, because the airport closed, I was the last flight in. I picked up the phone, I called the Omni in downtown Pittsburgh, and I got Al Arbor, who was very, very nice to me over the years, and I said, Al, it's Jeff Rimmer. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? I said, well, we're going to be playing you guys on Sunday. I'm doing the game for the Florida Panthers, but I just landed in Pittsburgh. Is there any way I could hitch a ride on the plane with the Islanders? Brilliant, brilliant. So Al said fine, and he got me a hotel room. Didn't even have to pay for the hotel room, which was delightful. Which was delightful, and because I mean, it wasn't on expenses. I was between games. So hey,
you've obviously gone through, as Aaron has here, a large part of this franchise. And I want to know, Aaron and I get to talk about this all the time, as you do, but just this season, what this has been like. They made the playoffs twice, but they have never had it. The Blue Jackets have never had a season like this one. Unless they completely fall apart, it's going to be their best season in franchise history. What's this been like for you?
It's been terrific. You guys have heard it before. You've been on the beat, from the early days of the franchise. Hey, this team is going to be on the march. This team is going to put it together. We all know the disappointments a couple of years ago, even last year. I got to tell you, we thought that there was light at the end of the tunnel. I can honestly tell you now, looking at the skill in the upgrade, this franchise, hey, we don't know how far they're going to go this year. But it's going to be awfully tough, particularly if they stay within the division for the playoffs. But this franchise is moving forward. This is the beginning of something very, very special for Columbus and for the Blue Jacket franchise. Yeah. I really believe it.
And for the first time, prolonged, maybe.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Basically, yeah.
Right.
They're on the move up.
When you've shared some great stories. When you think back, I'm thinking of Pavel Bure.
Oh,
right. I'm thinking of you had Fedorov here, sort of at the end of his career. Who are some of the great players and the great moments that immediately dot your mind when you think of the career that you?
Now you want to talk in terms of including Montreal, when I saw those World Cups.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Those guys were my age in Montreal. I was friends with most of them. I lived on the West Island of Montreal, where many of them live. Gary Carter, great baseball player, Hall of Famer, living around the corner one way. Larry Robinson, whose house I moved into because we started building a house. It was the summertime. No, he wasn't there. He was in Ottawa for the summer. But Larry Robinson, one of the greatest defensemen ever to play the game.
Absolutely.
Guy Lafleur. Probably he and Pavel Bure in all my years in hockey are the two players that could bring you out of your seat, whether you're sitting downstairs with the fans or if you're up here in the booth. As they go down that wing, the Russian Rocket and Guy Lafleur, the Flower, they literally could bring you out of your seats. 1 year, the Montreal Canadiens lost 8 games. Then we fast forward and Washington with those great teams, but always disappointment in the playoffs. But there were pretty good hockey players there. Then, and you're right, I got to see Sergei Fedorov, maybe not in his prime. I saw Pavel Bure, he had the knee injuries, maybe not in his prime, but I saw Lafleur, Robinson, Lapointe, Savard, Lemaire, Steve Shutt. I saw them all in their prime. And I got to call Dino Ciccarelli's 600th goal in the National Hockey League while I was with the Florida Panthers. And I helped engineer that trade. True story, Brian Murray. I called Brian Murray, and Dino and I have been great friends since Washington. And Dino wanted out of Tampa. He wanted to come to Florida. And I told Brian Murray, I said, Brian, Dino wants to come. And Brian had traded for him twice before. So guess what? He makes the call to Phil Esposito, who didn't want to give him up. But Phil said, I want to keep you, Italian paisan. But Dino said, I want to go to South Florida. I want to play for the Panthers and Brian Murray and be with my buddy Jeff Rimmer. We got the trade done.
All right, before we wrap it up here.
Not bad, huh?
You swung some trades here from what I understand.
We won't get into that. Free agents, too.
You are going to be honored here by the Blue Jackets for your 2000th game next week. It's going to be the Florida Panthers, which is interesting because it's one of the teams that you've covered. But I think it's also interesting because you are kind of like the Jaromir Jagr of broadcasters. I mean, you just continue to go on. And even though you're at 2000, from what I understand, this is no sign of anywhere close to being done.
No, 2000 television games. When they asked if they could honor me the Blue Jackets, I got no. Full disclosure, I said this is not a retirement party because if it is, I don't agree. So I plan on being here. I mean, hey, Vince Scully worked till he was 82. I got a long way to go to that. Bob Miller, bless his heart, and I hope he's healthy. Longtime Los Angeles broadcaster, 44 years with the Kings. I haven't got 44 years with the Blue Jackets yet. He's 79. He's got some health issues. He's retiring. So there's still a few more years. And as far as retirement goes, I got a taste of that in 2004 with a lockout. Yeah, and it was no good. No good. You guys could certainly appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really classing up. Classing up.
You guys are great. You guys are great. Thank you so much. And thank you to the fans because, hey, of all the places I've been, and the fans are great everywhere, these fans are terrific, and they deserve a winner here, and it's going to come sooner than later.
And we don't have jobs if there aren't fans.
That's right. You're right.
None of us have a job. The players, the coaches, anything.
I thought you were giving us a scoop on something else.
Oh, well, he's always giving scoops. All right, Aaron, hit the button. Say goodbye to Jeff. Thanks again, everybody.